Hey family, this is day 83 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we're covering the book of 1 Samuel, chapters 22 through 24. Now we're in the story where so far Saul is the first human king of Israel, and David has been anointed by Samuel in his family as to be the next king, but he is not going in and taking Saul's position of authority, like not directly and not quickly, but little things are happening, and David is starting to find favor in the eyes of Israel, and Saul's son Jonathan loves him. Saul even loves him. Saul gives him his daughter Michal, and they get married, and so like everybody loves David, and Saul starts to get threatened, and already a couple times, Saul has tried to kill David, throw a spear at him. Saul threw a spear at his own son Jonathan, who was trying to defend David, and so far, the relationship between Saul and David is stressed. It's bad. David is on the run, and Saul is taken after him. So let's see how that plays out a little bit today. David therefore departed from there and escaped to Adullam's cave. When his brothers and all his father's house heard it, they went down there to him. Everyone who was in distress, everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was discontented gathered themselves to him, and he became captain over them. There were with him about 400 men. David went from there to Mizpeh of Moab, and he said to the king of Moab, "Please let my father and my mother come out to you, until I know what God will do for me." He brought them before the king of Moab, and they lived with him all the time that David was in the stronghold. The prophet Gad said to David, "Don't stay in the stronghold. Depart and go into the land of Yehudah." Then David departed and came into the forest of Cheret. Shaul heard that David was discovered with the men who were with him. Now Shaul was sitting in Gibeah under the tamarisk tree in Ramah with his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing around him. Shaul said to his servants who stood around him, "Hear now, you Benjamites. Will the son of Yishai give every one of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? Is that why all of you have conspired against me, and there is no one who discloses to me when my son makes a treaty with the son of Yishai? And there is none of you who is sorry for me, or discloses to me that my son has stirred up my servant against me, to lie in wait as it is today?" Then Doeg the Edomite, who stood by the servant of Shaul, answered and said, "I saw the son of Yishai coming to Nov, to Achimelech the son of Achituv. He inquired of Yahweh for him, gave him food, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine." Then the king sent to call Achimelech the priest, the son of Achituv, and all his father's house, the priests who were in Nov, and they all came to the king. Shaul said, "Hear now, you son of Achituv." He answered, "Here I am, my lord." Shaul said to him, "Why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Yeshai, in that you have given him bread and a sword, and have inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as it is today?" Then Achimelech answered the king and said, "Who among all your servants is so faithful as David, who is the king's son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard, and honored in your house? Have I today begun to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Don't let the king impute anything to his servant, nor to all the house of my father, for your servant knew nothing of all this, less or more." The king said, "You shall surely die, Achimelech, you and all your father's house." The king said to the guard who stood about him, "Turn and kill the priests of Yahweh, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew that he fled and didn't disclose it to me." But the servants of the king wouldn't put out their hand to fall on the priests of Yahweh. The king said to Doeg, "Turn and attack the priests." Doeg the Edomite turned, and he attacked the priests, and he killed on that day 85 people who wore a linen ephod. He struck Nov, the city of the priests, with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children and nursing babies, and cattle and donkeys and sheep, with the edge of the sword. One of the sons of Achimelech, the son of Achituv, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. Abiathar told David that Shaul had slain Yahweh's priest. David said to Abiathar, "I knew on that day when Doeg the Edomite was there that he would surely tell Shaul. I am responsible for the death of all the persons of your father's house. Stay with me. Don't be afraid, for he who seeks my life seeks your life. You will be safe with me." David was told, "Behold, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah and are robbing the threshing floors." Therefore David inquired of Yahweh, saying, "Shall I go and strike these Philistines?" Yahweh said to David, "Go strike the Philistines and save Keilah." David's men said to him, "Behold, we are afraid here in Yehudah. How much more, then, if we go to Keilah against the armies of Philistines?" Then David inquired of Yahweh yet again. Yahweh answered him and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into your hand. David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines, and brought away their livestock, and killed them with a great slaughter. So David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. When Abiathar the son of Ahimelech fled to David to Keilah, he came down with an ephod in his hand. Shaul was told that David had come to Keilah. Shaul said, God has delivered him into my hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that has gates and bars. Shaul summoned all the people to war, to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. David knew that Shaul was devising mischief against him. He said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the ephod here. Then David said, O Yahweh, the God of Israel, your servant has surely heard that Shaul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Will the men of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Shaul come down as your servant has heard? Yahweh, the God of Israel, I beg you, tell your servant. Yahweh said, He will come down. Then David said, Will the men of Keilah deliver me and my men into the hand of Shaul? Yahweh said, They will deliver you up. Then David and his men, who were about 600, arose and departed out of Keilah, and went wherever they could go. Shaul was told that David had escaped from Keilah, and he gave up going there. David stayed in the wilderness in the strongholds, and remained in the hill country of the wilderness of Ziph. Shaul sought him every day, but God didn't deliver him into his hand. David saw that Shaul had come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph in the woods. Jonathan, Shaul's son, arose and went to David in the woods, and strengthened his hand in God. He said to him, Don't be afraid, for the hand of Shaul my father won't find you, and you will be the king over Israel, and I will be next to you. And Shaul my father knows that also. They both made a covenant before Yahweh. Then David stayed in the woods, and Jonathan went to his house. Then the Ziphites came up to Shaul to Gibeah, saying, Doesn't David hide himself with us in the strongholds in the woods, in the hill of Hachilah, which is on the south of the desert? Now therefore, O king, come down, according to all the desire of your soul to come down, and our part will be to deliver him up into the king's hand. Shaul said, You are blessed by Yahweh, for you have had compassion on me. Please go make yet more sure, and know and see his place where his haunt is, and who has seen him there, for I have been told that he is very cunning. See therefore and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hides himself, and come again to me with certainty, and I will go with you. It shall happen, if he is in the land, that I will search him out among all the thousands of Yehudah. They arose and went to Ziph before Shaul, but David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the Arava, on the south of the desert. Shaul and his men went to seek him. When David was told, he went down to the rock, and stayed in the wilderness of Maon. When Shaul heard that, he pursued David in the wilderness of Maon. Shaul went on this side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. And David hurried to get away for fear of Shaul, for Shaul and his men surrounded David and his men to take them. But a messenger came to Shaul, saying, Hurry and come, for the Philistines have made a raid on the land. So Shaul returned from pursuing David, and went against the Philistines. Therefore they call that place Selah Hamachlekot. David went up from there and lived in the strongholds of En-Gedi. When Shaul had returned from following the Philistines, he was told, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi. Then Shaul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and went to seek David and his men on the rocks of the wild goats. He came to the sheep pens by the way, where there was a cave, and Shaul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were staying in the innermost part of the cave. David's men said to him, Behold, the day of which Yahweh said to you, Behold, I will deliver your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Shaul's robe secretly. Afterward David's heart struck him, because he had cut off Shaul's skirt. He said to his men, Yahweh forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, Yahweh's anointed, to stretch out my hand against him, since he is Yahweh's anointed. So David checked his men with these words, and didn't allow them to rise against Shaul. Shaul rose up out of the cave and went on his way. David also arose afterward, and went out of the cave, and cried after Shaul, saying, My lord, the king! When Shaul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the earth, and showed respect. David said to Shaul, Why do you listen to men's words, saying, Behold, David seeks to harm you? Behold, today your eyes have seen how Yahweh had delivered you today into my hand in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not stretch out my hand against my Lord, for he is Yahweh's anointed. Moreover, my father, behold, yes, see the skirt of your robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of your robe and didn't kill you. Know and see that there is neither evil nor disobedience in my hand. I have not sinned against you, though you hunt for my life to take it. May Yahweh judge between me and you, and may Yahweh avenge me of you, but my hand will not be on you. As the proverb of the ancients say, out of the wicked comes wickedness, but my hand will not be on you. Against whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom do you pursue? A dead dog? A flea? May Yahweh therefore be judge, and give sentence between me and you, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of your hand. It came to pass, when David had finished speaking these words to Shaul, that Shaul said, Is that your voice, my son David? Shaul lifted up his voice and wept. He said to David, You are more righteous than I, for you have done good to me, whereas I have done evil to you. You have declared today how you have dealt well with me, because when Yahweh had delivered me up into your hand, you didn't kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him go away unharmed? Therefore may Yahweh reward you good for that which you have done to me today. Now behold, I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hand. Swear now therefore to me by Yahweh that you will not cut off my offspring after me, and that you will not destroy my name out of my father's house. David swore to Shaul. Shaul went home, but David and his men went up to the stronghold. So a few things to pay attention to today. At first we see, Saul finds out that Ahimelech the priest gave David showbread and took care of him, gave him Goliath's sword, prayed to God for him, and Saul's really upset about it, and so Saul has Ahimelech and his whole household, 85-something people die. Like Saul has Yahweh's priests murdered because they were in allegiance with David instead of Saul. Like Saul's really shown his colors at this point, and that's just terrible. And Abiathar is the one from Ahimelech's family that escapes and flees to David. And David takes the blame. He says, it was my fault. I knew that guy would rat on me, and I let it happen. I'm the reason why your family has died. Abiathar, you stay with me, because Saul, who seeks after your life, he seeks after my life as well. But then we get into this story where the people at Keilah are in danger of the Philistines, and David is asking God's counsel. God, should I go save these people? And God says, yes, you need to go do this. And so David goes and he saves them, and then David finds out from his dudes that Saul is on his way and knows where he's at, and is heading to Keilah. And David asks God, if I stay here, will Saul kill me? If I stay here, will the people of Keilah give me into Saul's hand? And God says, yes, that will happen. And so David leaves, and then it doesn't happen. And I think that's like kind of an important detail, because it's a situation where God tells the future, and because the future has been told, David or a person, but like David specifically in this scenario, somebody is able to change the course of action and something else changes, right? It's this little hint that there's no finality, there's no finiteness in destiny, right? There's no one specific situation. It's God saying, yeah, it's going to happen if you stay here. And then it's up to David to decide, do I stay here or do I go? And so David goes. And I think that's just a little bit of an important detail. You may not think of it as that important, but I think it's a good, when you're arguing about whether or not God pulls the strings and we have only one path to take, this is a situation that to me says God knows what will happen in one situation, and because he tells David, David does something else, and that doesn't happen. So to me, that's an important thing, but that's okay. We can move on. But the last thing from today is this story in chapter 24 where Saul goes into the cave because he's got to go bathroom, and David's in the cave, and he cuts off the robe or the skirt of Saul's stuff without Saul even noticing, right? Saul doesn't even feel it, whether he put his robe somewhere and David cut it off when it was somewhere else. I don't know exactly the details, but basically showing that David had the opportunity to kill Saul, right? He keeps saying, Yahweh has given my enemy into my hand. But David refused to kill Saul because Saul is anointed by Yahweh, right? It's a king anointed by Yahweh. David refuses to lift a hand against him, and it's a beautiful thing. And Saul goes out, and David says, hey man, over here, I had the opportunity to run you through. Here's your part of your robe to prove it, but I didn't do it. I like, trust me, Saul. My hand is not against you. You don't need to be against me. And we see Saul here is like, I have sinned. Come home. I won't kill you. I've done wrong. And that's where it kind of leaves off. David doesn't go with him. So just some interesting stories going on today. We're seeing the character of David not wanting to take the power that actually he has the right to take because God anointed him already, right? Samuel anointed him as the next king, but David refused to violently go against Saul. And so there's some just beautiful stuff going on, some character development, some character change, but I hope I've given you something a little bit to think about today as you go on and have a wonderful day.